drinks and you're settled in for what is going to be a bit of a stellar event. I'm Grace and I run Silicon Brighton, and we help to deliver this evening's event. I'm going to pass over to Martin shortly, one of the organisers. But just a little bit of an intro about Silicon Brighton for those of you who don't know what we do. We are the hosts of Brighton and Hove's Tech Sector. Brighton AI is one of a series of meetups, tech and digital meetups that happen across the city. But there's a whole host of them across different tech verticals, and they're all behind me on the big screen. They are free to join, very much like this evening. They're available to people at all levels. So whether you're in an industry or working in a specific vertical, you might just be interested in finding out a little bit more. Perhaps you're running a team that works within that vertical, or just a little bit tech curious. You're more than welcome at any of these. And they're all hybrid as well. So tonight has been live streamed, as are all of the others. And the idea behind all of these principles is that we're making or endeavouring to make these events, and therefore also just the industry and getting into the industry, as accessible as possible. These are all of our supporters, so businesses who contribute to us financially on a monthly basis to help continue to fund the work that we do in order to keep these meetups free. So a massive, massive thank you to all of our supporters. But we are not there yet. And also all of our meetups are run by volunteers who basically donate their time for free as well, including the speakers. So if you would like to talk at a future event, perhaps you want to get involved in running one of the meetup series that we support, perhaps you have just an idea for a topic, you want to volunteer in future, or you're part of a business that maybe wants to contribute financially to us in exchange for some promotion and recognition, then please get in touch and let us know. Would love to hear from you. There's myself, Charlie and Maureen across the room, as well as the organisers as well. These are our values. So everyone who attends our meetups, all of the organisers, the volunteers, the businesses we work with, the venues that we're in, and we'll come on to One Family in just one moment. We look for people who identify with the same values. If for whatever reason that you feel that any of these are being compromised in any way, please come and have a quiet word with myself, and we can handle that separately. You can follow us on socials. So we've got a really amazing in-person community. There's loads of great stuff that kind of comes with meeting and greeting people in person together. But we also are online on various social channels. And you can also join us on Slack and carry on the conversation online as well in between. There's about 3,000 people as part of that community, and it's rapidly growing as well. Chat to people on there, introduce yourself, ask for help, offer help, anything like that. And just to give you a bit of an idea of the kind of variety of different events that we've got going on, some that are coming up are Brighton Blockchain on the 3rd. That is a sort of pub social, soft drinks very much available as well. Async is on the 4th. We've got Brighton Cloud on the 17th, and then JavaScript Brighton on the 18th. So that's just a couple, but we're always hosting anywhere between 1 to sometimes 5 or 6 events every week. That's the QR code for our events calendar. Check it out, get involved, tell your friends. And that's everything. I'm now going to hand over to Stuart from One Family to tell us a little bit about the company's office that we're in. Sorry, this was a bit of an improv thing that was agreed about 2 minutes ago, which is why I've gone completely inarticulate. Over to you.
Thanks, Grace. My name's Steve, by the way. That's all right. Everybody gets it wrong. Anyway, well, welcome everybody. Good evening. So I'm the IT director here at One Family. So you've probably not, many of you might not have heard of us, but we're quite big in financial services. So we've got about 2 million customers in the UK, and we're big in child savings and investments, as well as life insurance and equity release. Really delighted to host this event this evening, and the subject's very close to my heart as well. So we at One Family, we started our AI journey proper about 3 years ago. So over that time, we've introduced things like speech analytics, chatbots, knowledge management systems, robotics, using a whole variety of different technologies there, and it's really delivered a lot of benefits for the company, for our customers as well. So looking forward to hearing from the panel tonight on the exciting world of AI.
Thanks.
Oh, right.
There we go. I think I'm on the mic. You can all hear me. So if you think you've come to this event, you're in the right place. If not, enjoy the session anyway, and there are beers to while away the time. Clicker. Thank you. Just one quick slide before we jump in. Dan Woolman, would you mind just standing up, Dan, briefly? Dan's asked me to drop this slide into the occasion. I think it's entirely appropriate. CEO of Tech Native, do a whole bunch of work in the community for good, and hopefully the slide speaks for itself. Scan that image. If you don't have time for that, because I'm going to jump on in a second, see Dan straight afterwards and sign up for this research. Thank you. That's the word. Yeah, see, lack of prep. Research around AI in your business. So reach out to Dan or scan the image or put it up at the end. Thank you, Dan. Pleasure. So Brighton AI, the slide's wrong. It says, well, it's right, more than 690 as of this morning, 701, maybe 702. It's growing quite quickly, we, as a group. The organising team, some of them are here, myself, Graham here, BC, Matt are also here. Come and talk to any of us about your world of AI, what you want from us in terms of an organisation group. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and I think Matt's going to cover that in his conversation. But we want to do more than meetups. Meetups are fantastic. We do one a month, and we try and mix up the format. So we're going to have a conversation with some very knowledgeable and experienced people that we've come to know in the community. So let me do some introductions. I will look at notes because I definitely would have forgotten most of this. Mary Kemp, she's a leader in AI enablement space and the co-founder of Simpler with I, who I've got to know as a very interesting business in Brighton and beyond. Mary stands at the forefront of AI adoption, transforming complex concepts, easier to say, into practical tools for business growth. Her unique expertise lies in bridging the gap between advanced technology and everyday business applications, making AI an accessible powerhouse for entrepreneurs. Welcome, Mary. Matt is the co-founder and chief vision officer for a fast-growing technology business, the Green Lemon Company. They build systems and AI solutions for customers from central government to financial services, from automotive to logistics business. His vision, modestly, is for Green Lemon Company to harness technology for the benefit of every species on the planet. Good goal, Matt. Katrina, Kat, is the managing director of Dab Apps, a leading Brighton-based software agency. Kat made the move towards tech 10 years ago. Over the past decade, she's been honing her management skills in the STEM arena and building teams she loves to work with. Kat is also on the advisory board for Tech Native and a hub for developing new talent with a focus on closing the skills gap and removing barriers to those currently underrepresented in the industry, which we all believe is a very important initiative. Well done, Kat. And Duncan has a career in film and art spanning over 35 years, would you believe? He's a film editor, AI artist, and award-winning short film director, collaborating with broadcasts such as the BBC, Discovery, ITV, PBS, and Netflix. He has gained prestigious awards, including Best Documentary Series Emmy for The Ascent of Money, National TV Awards, and international awards and nominations, with a win for Best Comedy, Los Angeles Film Festival, and Best in Festival for Heart of England Film Festival. So this panel, we're going to engage in a kind of a fireside chat, if we can, talking about their experiences with AI in business. In preparing for this, I mean, I, like all of us, think a lot about AI, but when you're presenting a panel on AI, it's trying to do a bit of homework or a bit of prep thinking, and I came up with this hypothesis, what I call the ape hypothesis, that AI can help businesses in 3 generic ways. There are probably others, but I've tried to group it into 3 groups for the purpose of this conversation. To amplify, I think AI can amplify the activities within the business, and in particular our small companies, probably like everybody in the room and everybody in our meetup groups, to behave bigger. Small is nimble. With AI tools and our nimbleness, I think we, small businesses, have the capacity to grow and utilize AI probably more than others. And we have a window of opportunity, I think, to do that. Hard to know how long, a couple of years, maybe 3, maybe more. I think now is the time to really think and learn about how we can make the most of AI and our nimbleness to compete and outpunch the bigger players. Hopefully we'll touch on that in our conversation. Problem solver, obviously AI is a brilliant problem solver. Companies, especially large ones, will invest in their own AI solutions. Some of the people here are also doing the same. Or we can easily access tools, as we know, and we can rent them, buy them as a service, and use those as productivity. That is only going to increase. We see new things every week, if not every day. So I think problem solving is solved, actually. It's going to kind of solve itself. And I think we'll be surprised about how many problems AI can solve just by standing still and watching that overtake us. Increasing efficiency, it can increase efficiency in all businesses. My feeling and my research points to the big companies are going to use these tools for that purpose. Probably looking at their cost base and saying, where is one job description utilized across 100 employees, 1,000 employees, 10,000 employees? That's where I would be using AI to reduce that cost and improve my effectiveness. Big companies behave slow. Some have started, some are going to be slower. Probably a 3-year period, my guess, as how long it will take for these big things to impact society. It's a similar window for us, little ones, to find our feet and grow into this space. But I think our nimbleness and probably our Brighton characteristics are things that I think are things that we can play to. So with all that in mind, that preamble, let's ask you guys a few questions. Firstly, just by explaining a bit about what you do and how you're using AI currently. And I'll start with you, if I may.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. How I use AI. I use ChatGPT to create prompts, and I use Midjourney, Runway, and whatever else is available now, RenderNet, and there's some other ones out there that are free. And I make nice pictures for people, and they use them to promote their products. It's quite a good deal by the sounds of it. And we get a lot of fun doing it. Sometimes we find ourselves laughing at them, and sometimes we entertain, but mostly it's about utilizing the emerging technologies to find a new market where the markets are dying. I work in television, or did work in television. I think it's RIP to television these days. All the marketing has literally shifted to YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and there's almost, I think, 11 billion dropped off the American market last year, and that means there's 0 employment in the UK at the moment. So thousands currently facing problems with that. But I think AI and what we do offers an opportunity to change those skills and become more efficient and make more out of the chances that are there with it. Certainly it's working with us. And we're looking to train more of those people to join us in this arena. I think the skills are immediately transferable, and we can have a lot of fun and continue business. And I think that's my current job with it.
There's a couple of pictures that you shared that might be worth explaining.
So this is a company called 72 Point, who are a PR company and deal with like Virgin and here Nissan. And so on this one here, Nissan wanted to celebrate 90 years, and I had some virals last year. I did a selfie of Jesus and the Last Supper of Christ that introduced, shall we say, the photographic capabilities of AI rather than being cartoonish or otherwise. It kind of showed where it could be in this level of, it's almost getting impossible to tell that that's AI at the top there. It's getting very close, in my opinion. And so that heralded in this new age. And from that, these guys have a sister company called SWNS. And I've had virals in the newspaper with them doing things like Elton John selling burgers, and I don't know, I think it was what's his name, Axl Rose changing tires at Quick Fit. I mean, just for a bit of fun, and those sort of things they liked. And they said, "Can you find us a stockbroker?" I can't take credit for the guy. That's found by Nikki Bayard up at the back there. She was a leading light in women's AI. She doesn't realize it, but she is, and she just should take more of that and lead a bit more the way. But she found him. AI called him Evan Jace, which is kind of interesting. We can't work out if he's an AI actor playing a stockbroker or if he's genuinely a stockbroker. I don't quite know what he is, actually. That's a bit of a controversy. But that started off with a very different thing. And they wanted a typical stockbroker from a survey. And these are the kind of areas in marketing that we're finding ourselves going into. Nissan wanted to do a picture, and you can see here on the left-hand side, that's 1947 Tokyo, and that's 2010 Tokyo. And they wanted to put the two images together. And so effectively, I call it time traveling without the time machine. You can be anywhere you want, anytime in space, anywhere, anyone you want. You can recreate entire places that are existing or from your mind. You guys that really look quite real, and I think he's quite a good-looking chap, really, underneath all that. And so, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're knocking out. Also doing films more recently, big brand commercials we've just done. I can't say the name until next month, but a big drinks company, and they're now doing AI stuff, and we've just done a first film for them to enter into the runway competition. So even those brands are now starting to dip their toes into this area. I agree with Martin. I think 3 years is probably our golden period now. We're on a great big new estate, and there's nobody here, and we can build what we want. And I think we put the more what I'm promoting is that we do it as a sort of cooperative, and we work together because we can make more money out of it, and we can have more fun and more freedom. And that's kind of where I'm going. And so these are the kind of things that we're currently producing. As well as commercials are coming next with what's going to be the new, you've probably all of Sora. If you're interested in eyes, there's a new video capabilities that's coming forward. That's going to blow the entire film industry to pieces. And so it's something that we can all get in on, and we can start to become studio-based Brighton. And my big thing is to bring in training into the area, encourage anybody of any age, of any background at all to get into AI now. It doesn't matter if you're artistic, if you've got a sense of humor and you like playing with computers and you can talk to people, you can probably do AI. Okay, that's all you need to do. This isn't some big C3PO from Star Wars. This is a power tool. You could be given a drill with a team of people that will operate the drill for you, and so you can just tell them what to do, and it's like that's what you've got. So embrace it, love it. I'm not going to say like that Sadly said at OpenAI, which is, guys, just suck it up because it's happening. I can't really say that, but I'm going to take that little bit of sort of some seriousness from that. It's happening. We need to transfer our skills, and there are people here, Mary and Gareth, able to help with things like that. And there's a lot of people that can help you learn and train within this area, and it's a lot of fun to do so. And I think you're looking at an emerging market that you can claim a very large section of at this point if you do it correctly.
Thanks.
That's all I've got to say on that.
Yeah. There'll be more, I'm sure.
Maybe.
Kat, tell us about your world and AI.
Pretty different to yours, I would say. So I am the managing director of a software agency in Brighton. We build applications that are mostly used within businesses. So it might be doing calculations on a load of data and representing that in some way that makes that more interesting, or improving processes and that kind of stuff. Not too much public facing. So where we are with AI is kind of exploring how internally that can help us. So to improve efficiencies, as you were talking about, Martin, you know, that's at a pretty small level, but it's still massively valuable and helpful for us to be able to create content, for our developers to be able to generate tests and use Copilot, for example. So we're kind of looking at that side of things. And then we're also looking at, for all of our clients, so we're an agency, we work in lots of different sectors. All of them have come to us, I would say, in the last 18 months or so and kind of said, how do we put AI into our product? So I guess we're kind of exploring that as the experts, as their technology teams, but also whilst acknowledging this is very much, you know, this is still emerging, but we want to kind of capitalize on that, I suppose, understand it, and figure out how we can really add some value to the products that our clients are kind of building.
Is the answer obvious when you get in the conversation? Are you able to be the expert in the room once the conversation starts flowing?
I would say, I would find it quite difficult to identify what an expert in AI
I agree
is,
with that.
actually.
Yeah.
Probably not me. But I think it's such a huge kind of, there's such huge scope and there's so little understanding, really, for most of the people. This is going out to, okay, for most of the people that we're talking to, that, you know, they don't know exactly what adding some AI to a product might mean.
Yeah.
Once we start having that conversation, I guess it's about, okay, so like, what data set do you want to apply that to? Like, what do you want to get out of this? What might kind of success look like? I think and those are all questions that we kind of ask anyway of our clients when we're building or looking to build some software. But I guess it's kind of, going back to what value is this really going to add? What benefit is this really going to add for the people that are using your tool? And from there, we can kind of try and, work that back and figure out what the right tools are. But again, I guess we're kind of learning on this stuff as well.
Yeah. I don't think there is an expert in AI because it's such a big subject. I mean, thousands of experts in parts of AI.
Yeah.
And millions and millions and billions of novices. So I think anyone that has some experience in AI probably could be regarded as a relative expert.
Few.
Do you think? Mary, what's your, tell us about what you're doing, Mary, and your expertise.
Yeah, I was assuming Matt was going next.
So
yes, you only need to be 5 minutes ahead of them, Kat. That's fine. What we hear from most people is we'll either hear one of two sentences. It will be, I know I've got to do something with it, but I don't know where to start. Or I have no idea of all the things it will do, which is the next level of sophistication. And that is the issue. We're in the Gen AI, I say we, that man over there as well. We're in the Gen AI space. So we go in and help organizations and leaders understand how they can use it to grow their business and accelerate. Because one of the downsides is that you can play with it. Has anyone played with it and had like a mediocre experience? Like you've spent ages with it and nothing really, and it was a bit fun, but you haven't integrated it into what you do on a daily basis. So you're already ahead of most people, by the way. There's a lot of people talking about AI and not a lot of doing even now. So it is about understanding those little steps that you can take on a daily basis to integrate it into what you do and where it's going to have impact and where it is a fun toy and a distraction. Has that answered your question at all?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I like the 5 minutes ahead because I think you're probably right because it is moving so quick. It may be 10 minutes, but it's not very long, is it? It's moving quickly. And we use AI in our business, but we're still scratching our head what to really do with it and what we should do next, certainly for processes and things. I think we're all going to be learning a lot very quickly for quite a while. You're an expert, Matt, aren't you?
Goodness me.
Yeah. You said you were. That's why you're here. No pressure.
Are you going to bring up my banana slide?
I will. Well, you haven't got bananas. I'll bring it. There we go. There's bananas there.
Let's start with true or false, shall we? So we're using AI in three particular ways. So the first area for us is prediction and forecasting. The second area is optimization. And the third area is for cyber risk. And I can explain to you what those are, and I'll do that really, really briefly. But it's arguable that what we do, we call it using AI, but the three examples I'll give you, questionably, they're just machine learning. They're just working with data. They're not true AI, because that depends entirely on your definition. And the best definition I've heard of AI is from a chap called Daniel Hume, who I think you know, Graham, and that is goal-driven adaptive behavior. And what I'm going to describe to you, it's not adaptive behavior. It's just very smart machine learning. So I'm a bit of an arse when it comes to AI because I always refuse to accept that a system is actually true AI. So I'll show you what I mean. Can I have my bananas now?
There's a lot there.
So what's the importance of the bananas? So we got asked by a client, how many bananas do I put on a shelf in one of my stores in Stockton-on-Tees on Friday before a bank holiday? And he wanted to know the answer to that question. The way he was answering the question at that moment in time was a team of 24 people with about 30 spreadsheets, a load of historical data to try and figure it out. But at the end of the day, it was a guess. So we built a system for these guys for 500 products for 1,200 stores that takes weather data, demographic data like religion, etc., past ordering history, the weather, as I say, mash it all up and predict how many bananas to put on the shelf in Stockton-on-Tees on a Friday afternoon. And we got really, really good at it. Now, the whole point is with this thing, we don't care about the profit that it makes by saving money. What we care about is the fact we're not dumping 10,000 kilos of fresh produce into landfill every month. That's what we care about. The other thing we care about is all the food miles, all the carbon emission from moving those products from point A to point B, the methane given off by the landfill. That's what we care about, and that's what we use the AI to reduce. So the business outcome, yeah, sure, they made some more money, but that's not the purpose of what we did. The second area, so that's our predictive talent that we well, our talent, my guy's talent, not me. I'm not a technologist. The second area, optimization, is all about, the example I'll give you is extradition. And there's a lot of extradition that happens all over the world as a background process internationally across borders. And it is grossly unfair on victims because the process is so slow, criminals get away literally with murder, victims are penalized and don't get the retribution, the mitigation they should get. So we've used AI to accelerate the process of international extradition by analyzing all the documents and bringing it all together in the same language, et cetera, et cetera. We've used AI to do that, and it works very well, and it brings justice to people quicker, that people don't have to wait for their compensation, et cetera, et cetera. That's the bit we care about. And the third area I was going to talk about, cyber risk. I can't tell you too much, obviously, because it's risky. But that's the relevance of the picture at the top there, is we're using AI to recognize patterns that are so complicated that human beings can't compute them. And we do have an AI expert in the room, Graham. You have your master's degree, I believe. And Graham knows better than any of us that once you get to like 5 or 7 layers of complexity, a human being is unable to compute, is unable to understand the pattern in the data. So we use AI to look at really complex patterns of behavior to identify fraud within large data sets. Those are the things we do. I can come off the banana slide now. Next one.
Got another one.
This is the most important thing that we see with AI, is that it is probabilistic, not deterministic. So it doesn't answer a true or false question. It just gives you a probability that an outcome is correct. So for example, with our bananas, it didn't say absolutely. It would say there's an 88.9% chance you're going to need 15 kilos of bananas on that shelf in Stockton-on-Tees on a Friday afternoon before the bank holiday. And that's the difference with AI. Probabilistic, not deterministic. It's not yes, no. Do you want me to cover the framework yet? You come back to it.
Yeah, I think we'll get it towards the end.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's some more questions on that in a second. I wanted to, Mary, you've got a couple of slides I think might be useful to talk through at this point, and then we can perhaps move on from these points you're covering.
Thank you. So this is actually showing how the future is going to look, and actually we've got people doing this now. So usually up top, you would have to do it all yourself. And 10 steps, it's usually more than that. And the value of your time and everything that goes into it. What we're seeing now is that, you know, AI is human led. So you will go and share it. So the fraction of time that it takes you, yeah, it's a huge saving, not just in time, but in cognitive load. So you're able to do your best work, not the mundane, repetitive work. And we're seeing that actually. We work with the council helping refugees and over 50s get back into work. And one of the things that they would do, there's something called ESOL levels, which is English as a second language. And you need it at different levels. And the tutors would have to spend a lot of time adjusting the language and the graphics for these tasks that they're helping to teach people to integrate into Brighton. And they would usually take 2 to 3 hours to do this. And we were able to show them using chat how they could do that in 5 to 10 minutes. So now they're able to spend more time people facing and supporting people, which is what they want to do. It's like what you were saying, that's where the impact is. So it's all about being more human and understanding what tasks to you have to do yourself and what you can pass off to your lovely little collaborator.
And it's kind of talks to that amplification piece, and the inverse of that, which you and I talked about earlier, Duncan, which is how can you charge £1,500 a day when it only takes you 5 minutes to produce the same output? Well, can you?
I mean, I can start that with the old analogy about the engine that isn't working, and the guy walks around it and they can't get it working, and he walks around and looks at it for 5 minutes and taps it with a hammer and gives a 10 grand bill, and he says, well, it's 9,999 for the knowledge and £1 for the hammer. So it's like, how do you charge? And the idea is that, yeah, we do have this kind of pricing model at the moment. Of course, there's always going to be day rates that we stick to, and I think those haven't changed maybe too much within that kind of framework. But where you know, the value for us, I mean, for instance, let's say you want to do a shoot, and we go back to Evan Jace and we look at our lovely chap. I mean, to do that shoot, you think about what's going on there. There's hair, makeup, costume department, location, props, makeup, etc., etc., etc. You're probably looking at 25 grand to do that shot, something like that if you did it. So if I offered you a saving of 80% on that, am I expensive? Possibly not. It depends on how it's relatively looked at. So I think there's room to maneuver with that. And I think there are day rates and so on. We know there are professional rates for people that we expect to pay and so on. But for us, I think I want to follow up on what Mary was saying, which is a lot of you probably have had a go and you kind of go, oh, that's fun. Yeah, I like that picture. I like the, you know, I loved your monkey on, or the ape on the beach. I thought he's brilliant. And something like that can be great to make. And you can all do that very quickly. And I think that's where the power of it is for you guys going forward. If you're thinking about campaigning or marketing or PR or anything like that, you've got the ability to now set up these concepts and ideas like you've never had the option to do so in the past before, which means that you can then say to your clients way ahead of the game. I mean, normally you'd present something like that at the end of the shoot. You know, now you can do it prior to the shoot and actually get people interested in investing in your business. And so I think where AI is going to clean up, I think there'll always be a resistance to it because filmmakers want to make films and people want to use cameras. And I think we have to incorporate the human element of that. But this, for the people that perhaps don't have those budgets and can't spend 50, 100, 2 million on doing their productions, which is most people can spend some money on that. So these kind of opportunities, when you can do a product like that, and you can, Martin can say to me, I've got this great ape on the beach, and I say, oh yeah, he's great. Okay, can you take it to a commercial level? I say, yeah, I reckon we need to spend a day on it. And it would be like, I don't know if you noticed, but it wasn't the London 360, was it? It was something out of Shanghai, we think maybe, or Seattle. Yeah. And so that would need replacing, and that might take, I mean, I could just cut that out and replace it. But there is an operation level to do that. So you can come to me with your product and I can increase it and get it more up to date. I can pre-change some focus areas and whatever else. And we can start to charge for that process and we can work it out at what it's going to be. Again, I'll go back to Nikki. Nikki is learning this kind of stuff now. She's transferring from hospitality into this industry and has adopted doing things like out painting and in painting and making these sort of changes. So we're finding that actually there's business coming through this emerging market where one door is closing, another one is opening. And so I think, what was your original question? I think I've forgotten it in my waffling. But how are we using this?
It's that cost level.
For us, the cost level. This is where I think, have I gone off? No, am I too close?
No, you're
no. Okay. Start singing Old Danny Boy. Maybe later. We have a slightly different approach to it, I'm afraid, in the artistic side of things. And again, I'm sure Nikki will say the same. It does make you more productive in everyday work. This is absolute fact. You just go bang and it's done it for you. We all know how to do the drudgery. We know how to write these business plans and so on, but they often take 3 months and this thing can do it in 10 minutes for you. And it just takes that legwork out of it, In terms of what we're doing in artwork, it doesn't really work like that in the same way. Once you give us an image or a concept to work on, we're pretty much hands to the pumps for the entire duration of making that product. And it's changing this. And what you often get with these things, a typical one with Evan, I can't really show you the original one, but he was wearing a much more relaxed suit, shall we say. Looked like he'd slept in it a couple of days. Maybe the kids had kept him awake all night or something like that. They didn't like the background. It was too busy. You know, the desk was covered in, I think they wanted steak and chips and all this sort of stuff and God knows else what. And, you know, so we refined it down. He actually took about 2 days to make. By the time we had to clean out the background. So he comes on a different background. We take the background off, put a new background onto it, then increase the background of it, then put in the pictures of his family that then go on, then change his watch, then change his cufflinks, then change his suit, then change his tie. And all this is just taking time. So we're constantly working with an AI on that. It does make it easier for us because I'm not spending 3 weeks on location with a really angry or obstreperous actor. I've got to deal with that, you know.
And it's going to get better, isn't it? I mean,
And this is the first wave. This is the first crash on the beach, and we're already doing world-class levels. I actually don't. Someone said to me, "Do you think it's going to get better?" And I said, "I'm not sure how it can get better than that. It might be something different, but I don't see how that photograph could really improve much in terms of its technical delivery. Maybe there's a bit more of a realism in it. I don't know. People don't look quite so real in it yet, but it's getting bloody close."
Kat, where are you in this world? Is this a familiar picture to you in where you're at now, or is your business configured differently?
It's kind of, yeah, it's an interesting one. I have definitely been able to utilize ChatGPT and various other things to save time in some of the work that I do. Again, I am not a technologist, so that might be helping to put together proposals, or it might be creating some content or generating ideas, or, you know, those kind of things. I would say that it's having some impact on efficiencies within our engineering team. We are still figuring out, I think, exactly what that looks like, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, so we were having an interesting conversation before, Matt, about what both of our respective companies kind of do and the way that we work. And I think it is going to be really interesting to see where the software industry goes. I think at the moment we are very much still at a stage where human-led architecture and design is absolutely necessary to deliver the sorts of complex projects and products that we are asked to deliver. I think that's, you know, that's still definitely necessary and needed. We did have someone that came to us and said, who's got a very complex enterprise level piece of software that's used by lots and lots of different companies. He said, okay, well, I want to build this new feature, so I'm just going to get AI to do it. And we said, okay,
Good luck with that.
Yep, you can try. And then if we try and integrate it, it is probably going to break everything. But I mean, we wouldn't, probably a bit more nuance to that conversation. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting to see where this goes. And there are so many thoughts and opinions about that side of things as well. From where I'm sitting, though, and what we do day to day, and the conversations that I have with our clients, absolutely, software engineers are still needed at the moment, and that human element of architecting a product and a workflow needs human input.
Makes me think of the conversation we've had, Matt. You must have hundreds of engineers writing code to build these advanced.
No, we don't.
Wow.
No, we have very, very few. And coming on from your statement, we now use a platform that is an AI code generation platform. So basically, none of my guys do much coding. We just engineer the prompt, and then the platform we run writes all the code, tests it, deploys it all fully automatically. And when we started on this journey 5 years ago, we were told it would be 5 times faster than the human being. And the guarantee is it's going to be 100 times faster by the end of 2025. And we're well ahead of that curve. So we can clearly see in our business, software engineering is going away and being replaced by prompt engineering. So the way you could think of it is, in the past, we've created an answer. Now what we're doing is creating the right question for the technology. And it's a big shift in the way that systems and platforms are being constructed. The other big shift we're seeing, enabled by AI, is everything you could want to build is probably out there in parts. So you take a bit from here and a bit from here and best of breed from here, and you bring it together as what we call a composable application. And you use AI to soften all the connections and make it work properly. And all of a sudden you've got a well-beating piece of software that would have taken you 5 years to develop and probably missed its budget, its deadline, its deliverables, and so on.
That never happens.
Never happens. So the world has changed.
It has. And I think that all of that plus our small business agility is that combination. We're doing a project in Saudi, big project, punching way above our weight. We were on a call with Price Waterhouse and the software business. There's 27,000 software developers on the call. And we went into that meeting afraid, actually, we're going to get pushed to one side. Within a week, we've been pushed to the front of that project. They're the people that can do that because we know what we're talking about and we're agile. So I think that expertise, that subject matter expertise with some AI experience, more, 5 minutes ahead of the others, may go ahead. Maybe.
So I'll give you a direct example. We were asked to come in and build a quote to bind system for an insurance company. And they've been trying to build this quote to bind system for about 6 months, and it really was not in good shape. And the estimate from the big consultancy was that it would take 2 years to build in total.
Channel works.
So 2 years to build with a scrum team of 8 people plus a transformational board of another 6 guys. We built the whole thing end to end in 4 months, fully tested and deployed using 2 developers and a business analyst, and a hefty dose of intelligent automation.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Can I pick up on that point as well? I think that's applying it to the artistic industries as well. I think that model is correct. We were talking about this earlier on and saying in standard marketing and promotions, I was talking to somebody recently, and he was doing the same thing, which is they had an 18-month client who's going to roll out over that period of time, logos within 6 weeks, and ding, 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 run it over that period of time. And I think this is where we can sort of take the person out of the equation, but also give our own lives more of a break and be more in charge of what we're doing. And so, that would be an 18-month contract. I could probably do the same work now with AI in about 3 months and create the same materials. The logos that he wanted to run through a team of procrastination, would have taken 2 months to come up with the logo. I can do 600 in about 10 minutes now, and they're as good as those graphic designers. So I said to him, my point was, how do we utilize this advantage to our time management more than anything else? How do we become more productive? And the answer is, so far, because it is still emerging and I'm still working out the answer, to be honest, and I might have a better one next time if we ever meet, but it seems to be that you have the opportunity now to be either 5 times more productive with your client because everything's taking shorter, or you have 5 times more on the golf course or your yoga classes, or you have 5 times more clients, but whatever it is. And that's just now. And I'm being conservative here. So I think your point is absolutely right. It gives you this ability to just streamline things through things. And most importantly, I think in my industry with TV and film and with programming, when you're trying to hit a market, especially with things like TikTok now, where it's absolutely instant and everyone's getting their entertainment right in front of them without it being through committees and productions and the BBC. Now you can come up with an idea that doesn't take 18 months to arrive at the product, and you've missed the market, and now you look like the late person on the game. You're actually hitting the markets as they're emerging, and that's the advantage, I think, from our point of view.
Yeah, thank you.
This is just a thought that I had whilst you were talking. I think the other interesting thing that we will maybe see happen, probably not, is, okay, so what do we do with that time that, because there's such increased productivity, where does that time and I guess all of that money go? And yes, it might be nice to spend time on a golf course or working with more clients, but also we have massive societal problems, right? Yeah. Globally, so can and will any of that time that we free up go towards better community care, to allowing us to, we're all getting older, we're living longer, we need to care for people in their old age, all of those. No one's gonna, well, if you can answer it, please do, but I think it's just another consideration.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think there is maybe I don't know if it's an answer, but it's certainly sort of something that you make me think about it. And I think the answer is that when we do have spare time, I do a lot of charity work already, and I find that if I have that time, I do it. If I had more time, because it's something that I really enjoy, I'd probably put even more time into it. And I think that gives me that room. But it's about that work-life balance. But the big question that we all come back to is, if I can do my job, and I had this conversation with somebody earlier on, if you've given me a task that takes me normally 50 hours and I can do it in 10, are you going to be happy when you're paying me to be at home for 4 days doing nothing for you because I've been so efficient? And that's where the big question comes into, are my wages going to go down? And we've heard that actually recently at a conference where someone said, I'm quite annoyed because my person has just got on, they've used ChatGPT and they've done 3 days work in 4 minutes and charged me for it. So what are you paying for, the expertise or the time of that person?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is all open territory.
I'm going to come on perhaps to the whole future of work topic a little bit in a second. I brought this slide up. Mary, just, is there anything to add? I was impressed by what I saw you had put together as a suite of products that help businesses with these very vertical activities. Maybe just talk a bit about that.
So on camera, you said you were impressed. So I'm just going to
It's
take
true,
that.
no,
That's
it's
fine.
very-
Just going to take that. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that's amazing about AI is that it can do everything. The issue is that it can do everything as well. And you don't know where to start and you don't know how to be productive with it. So what we're seeing, and I think you were saying that and you were saying it, Matt, is that it's the quality of question that you ask. So we are seeing people, it's mid to late stage career, that they're getting great results from it because you know the questions to ask and you know how to interrogate the output. So first of all, breathe easy. This is not a tech issue. Gen AI is a talk to it issue, and it's a soft skill, and it's something that you need to practice.
So people with experience are more likely to be better at that.
Yeah, and there's a great, back in the day, any of you that remember the initial iPod that came out, the tagline was 1,000 songs in your pocket. You now have 1,000 experts in your pocket. Yeah, you have all the expertise that you need, and it can process it in a way that you can't. So the scary thing, and I can remember one of the reasons that we pivoted our business is that there was this huge piece of work that we used to charge a lot of people for. We dived into chat, and within an hour, we could replicate it. And it wasn't the replication that was the issue. It was the fact that it was better than we could do it. That was the bit in which we freaked out and thought, where are we going to go with this? And you're absolutely right. There is a moment in time. You guys in this room have the ability to move faster than the bigger organizations because you are nimble and because you don't have massive teams, or some of you don't have massive teams that are doing everything for you. You now have a team member that is not going to talk back, does not get tired, does not go off, does not spill beer on its keyboard. So it's just time, it's be curious. We're not getting into doom and gloom. It is here. It is already here. So be curious and play.
One thing that came to mind in thinking about all these matters, and certainly being involved in Brighton AI and the team and the conversations we're having, is comes back to this slide here. 690, 702 of us. A mid-sized business is classified as a business with 250 employees or more. Between us, we've probably got a couple of thousand. So if we all, with our skills, our kind of unique set of attributes in Brighton as well, creative, individual thinking, versatile, as an organization, we probably are quite powerful on a national and probably international stage. So I think that's something we should think about how we can all make use of via some collaboration tools, maybe AI-powered collaboration tools that we all start using to make that work. Just a thought. You may. Yeah, please do.
So I think what Martin has just said is so incredibly important, particularly with this community. And I'll explain why. It's a bit of a long explanation, so feel free to yawn or get up and leave the room if I go on for too long. But what we have to be very careful of is what you could refer to as a singularity that is on our horizon. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you look at the AI landscape across the globe right now, the focus of AI, the real focus of AI, the big money, is about the creation of wealth and power. That's what it's about. I know there's good projects going on as well, but it's mainly about the accumulation of wealth and the accumulation of power. And I'll give an example. If you look at the likes of OpenAI or Facebook or Amazon or Apple, they are hoovering up all the AI talent across the globe. OpenAI are paying between $700,000 and $900,000 for a data analyst out of university to attract that talent. Now, we all know what happens if these big corporations, these mega enterprises hoover up all this talent. They are doing it for one thing, to create better AI-powered algorithms to make us buy more shit that we don't need. And what do they do with those profits? It goes to a very, very small number of stakeholders within those businesses. That is not inclusive. That is not technology for all. That's exploitation in a sense. We all know what happens when you polarize wealth and you create inequality in societies. We end up with a lot of societal problems, as you mentioned. The other thing is, if these mega enterprises are hoovering up all the talent, they will decide the direction of travel of AI. And we all know what happens when you put a lot of power and a lot of money in the hands of a very small number of individuals. Bad things happen for human beings and bad things happen for the planet. So our great belief is a community like this, we have the power to use AI for good. And our view as a small company, we're a tiny player, we're nothing. We're not even naval on the sort of scale of Apple. But we have very strong morals. And I think if you go into an AI project thinking to yourself, will this project benefit mankind? Will it benefit the planet? Will it help, for example, reduce carbon, reduce homelessness, reduce child abuse, domestic violence? Can it do that by virtue of what we're building? Then you're starting to think in the right tempo for AI. Now, if we don't do that as a community, as in Brighton, then the mega enterprises will control the narrative. And that's what we have to avoid if we want utopia instead of dystopia. And I know this all sounds very grand, but this, as you said, this is real. This is on us right now. And we have the power to make decisions. We have the power to make change. So the only thing I would sort of ask everybody to go away with, this is very selfish of me, is when you think about your project, think, what good am I doing in the world? And if the answer is none, don't do it. Spend your money on something else. Sorry, Mark.
Can I pick up in that one?
Thank you.
I think I agree to a certain. I think I do agree, and I think the bottom line that I seem to coming down is down to regulation and all sorts of things that go with it. I don't fully agree with what you're saying, and I think there's elements of truth, and I understand what you're saying. I think the overall principle is absolutely right. We have to be careful of where things are going. But already, ChatGPT is free. Claude is free to people. These things aren't being made by they're not holding this to themselves and making it unaffordable to anybody. They're actually making it completely affordable to anybody. So I think the sharing property of it, and I think is actually very good. And I think they've also put some heavy restrictions into what you can and can't create. There are very few GPTs out there, or even the generative art ones, that haven't got heavy censorship on them. I think it's 13 PG is the kind of limit where you can create. There aren't many that go beyond that. And so I think that, thank the Lord, we've probably avoided a whole range of things that we probably wouldn't otherwise want to have seen up until now. We haven't seen the hate stuff. We haven't seen the really horrible stuff because it hasn't been allowed to get out there. So I think they are being morally good. The prices are £15 a month for these things, £20 a month. If someone's making a few billion off that, good for them. That's what I say. But I do agree. I think we have to be a little bit careful about what we are producing. We are sensitive about what we put out there, although I'm not sure that Jesus doing a selfie on the way to his Last Supper was particularly sensitive, but that's art for you as opposed to anything else. I would disagree about the carbon footprint. I don't think that's particularly heavy in what we're achieving and what we're doing. And I always say that if you've got something in your mind and you can now create it, please go ahead and do it. So you have two diametric opinions here, which I think we do have to be careful. But I say, if you've got Chat AI, go and create what you can imagine, because it's fantastic. You can literally go anywhere, anytime, anywhere with it. And if you start to use it really well, then actually this tool is creating a brand new environment. I've heard talk about the investment into the industries, particularly mine, of some in the region of 7 to 10 trillion in the next 8 years. So we're looking at an enormous amount of money for us to be able to take a part of as well. So I think, to me, it is about business. There is about making money. It is about being conscious of the planet. It is about being careful about the way we do things. There are some people that we've met here who want to put carbon neutral storage and render engines into heat swimming pools. We heard, I think, at last week at Silicon AI, and so there are ways of offsetting this problem that we've got with the environment and so on. But the upshot could be, at the moment, if you're working 50 hours a week and you're taking 10 buses to work and you're eating 5 lunches and you're doing these things, I can bring that down to 1 day. Haven't I just solved your carbon problem by a matter of, we're now down to 20% of that, arguably? So, I mean, there are different ways of measuring that situation.
Yeah, the only thing I'll come back at you with, and you're absolutely right, but no, but your gospel, your world is all around ChatGPT and the creation of creative content. No disrespect intended, that is 1% of 1% of the AI landscape. So within your world, you're absolutely right. It's the wider areas of AI that I'm more concerned about. Creative stuff, great, bring it on.
These are
agreed. I fully concur.
These are huge topics, right? That we're not going to resolve. Probably between us, ever really resolve. It's about how we behave going forward.
But can I? Sorry on that one, but I do want to go on the community thing, which I think you've both picked up on, which is absolutely right. We are on this virgin land, and as a cooperative working together, we can create and achieve a lot more.
One of the things I wanted to touch on, I'm looking at Grace, mindful of time. I'll keep going on until you start waving at me. Kat, we had a conversation a little while ago about jobs, and all these efficiencies means there's more work to do or less people to do them. I guess is that the trade-off? What's your thoughts on? Or we need less. Well, we need if we could be more productive, we don't need as many people to do the work.
Yes. I mean, as we've kind of touched on already, I think that there's so much to that. I guess it's kind of, it's a massive kind of industrial technological shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we will only know what the outcome of that is in X number of years' time and what the impact on the human race is, and our economy and the industries that we work in some number of years' time.
Are you concerned about staffing, either finding enough of the right people or actually having too many of the wrong people?
Honestly, at the moment, no. No. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, we're just about to jump onto questions. So well done for picking up the initiative and starting that process. So please, could you mind saying your name and who you're with?
Yes, I'm Carlotta from Shopify.
Thank
you. So my question relates to the fact that who defined that we have to work 40 hours a week?
Yeah.
It was a guy during the Industrial Revolution, right? So who says that we can move to a 4-day working week with the same output? Why would we have to reduce the pay if the output is the same?
Yeah, 4-day working week is I wouldn't say it's becoming increasingly common, but it is a small trend. Go on.
Yeah, so just to your point, we moved to a 4-day week in October year before. So we've been on it for quite a while. Our productivity has actually gone up by about 8% in terms of delivery points. Everyone's mental health is really strong. We've got quite a bit of discipline around the 4-day week. The team operate the rules and they would die to keep it. So if we're about to miss a deadline, they will do anything to get us back on track. But they do it with a big smile on their faces because they know they've got a 3-day weekend. So you're absolutely right. It works perfectly and our clients love it, even though they're very jealous.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I expect there will be more capacity in the workforce, especially digital workforce. Question is what we do about that. So, any more questions on, well, show of hands?
I had another question very quickly. Sorry.
Very quickly then.
Very quickly. In terms of regulations, whenever there is technology and there is exponential growth in terms of technology, which type of policies and regulations do you think are going to kind of appear and catch up with technology in the next
Good question. We're going to kind of wrap up a bit on that point as kind of the final piece to talk about. So we will definitely come back to that. Yes, this gentleman here, you had your hand up.
Hi.
Name and, should be.
Name and number. I'm David Watley, My Shop Local. Thank you very much for the panel discussion. It's very interesting. I wanted to make a statement rather than a question, and it's about productivity and where we're going as humanity. We cannot really keep growing. Human population cannot keep growing the rate it is, and we need to embrace technology to take out the pressure. You know, we've got certain populations like Italy, for example. It's a shrinking population. Sorry, Alessandro. It's shrinking. We can use technology to solve that problem. We don't have to keep having babies to grow our economies. So we need to look at ways to actually embrace it. But I think we also need to think about the humanity, and we're all intelligent people in this room. There are a lot of people who are juggling 3-4 jobs just to pay their wages. And they're not part of this equation. We've got to think about their lifestyles as well. So there's a lot of good. I'd like to say Brighton AI for good, because Matt, I absolutely agree with you. We need to look at ways to do this.
Yeah, that is.
But let's not be afraid of it. Let's embrace it and see that it can help humanity rather than stop it.
We are trying to engage with city services, Wes, aren't we? On exploring how we can embrace AI for good and do some deliberate, active projects locally. Part of the challenge is the pace at which large organisations move is very slow compared to the pace at which we can and want to deliver some of these technologies. So we will do those. Whether we'll do those in the time span that I would like to do those, I don't know. But I'm confident we'll find projects where we together as a community will actually start using some of these tools, just saying, hey, why don't you use this to make some local impact? So I'm keen to explore that. Somebody else had a hand up. Dan?
Hello, Dan, Tech Native. I've been working in education 20 odd years or so, and a lot of that time with young people. Like half of the course for young people was to get them work experience, or, you know, prepare them to get an entry-level job where they're learning their trade from the ground level up, working with a more experienced person and learning that way. Now I absolutely love ChatGPT. I've been using it loads just to help me with my productivity in so many different ways. So I'm a real advocate for using it. What I am concerned about, and I don't know what the answer is how that's going to shift the bar in terms of the entry into work point. Not just for young people, but for people returning to the workforce or people retraining. If ChatGPT is your favorite assistant who never gets tired, never answers back, then who used to be your assistant was the person in their first job who was learning. So how is that going to change the entry point for people starting out on their careers, learning their trade, when there's not so much need for that assistant role in the first place, and that particular job is being taken up so much by these brilliant AI tools? How are we going to have that accord with young people and people starting out so they can still get those opportunities?
Anyone have the answer up there?
That answer. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, it's what defines you in a competitive market. And I would say, up until now, if I, of course, going to employ, if I came down to the last two, if one probably had volunteering on it and the other one didn't, I'd probably take the one with the volunteering because they show a certain type of character. I think if I'm getting to the point now where it's, have they got AI or not AI, I'm going to take the person with AI because it's just a skill base that you should now be able to tick on your box. And if you haven't got it, you're out the game. Okay. And I think that's really going to be the future for young people. When I talk to young people who are in university, one of the things they're saying is that it's not being developed enough into the courses that they're doing. And therefore, outside of their course, they could be studying at a rate of knots. And inside the course, they're stuck on the original course pathway that the course has got to deliver them. Now, I'm going to say that I think the original course pathway is absolutely vital to stick to for those people. As I progress more into AI and as I progress more into making films and more into creating things for people, I'm realizing that I need more and more knowledge of what I'm actually trying to achieve. I need to know about that hair or that time or that period or whatever it is that's going on, and to be able to get it accurately correct. So what we're offering is the same thing. We're now looking at encouraging exactly those people into the area. We've got a lot of work coming through, and we expect to get more work from this environment in terms of creativity. The one thing I want is people to come up underneath, and I want to be able to have them see what we're doing and be given tasks to create and go forward with. I say with my industry, you still have to go. If I say I want that shot, it's still going to take you 10 hours to sit at that shot. Someone's got to do that. If I'm working on 6 other shots, I need that person to do that. If I'm cutting the film, I need some shots. I need someone to do that. So I think in my particular industry, I don't think it's going to go away so much. I think it's going to be, as you came in and you learn how to use a camera or an audio thing, or you learn how to do location and so on, you'll now get camera, location, light, sound, AI. And I think it'll just be an additional tool, and you'll need more knowledge than you ever needed to, because as an editor, after 30 years of sitting there with people going, yeah, you want what, you know, and okay, yeah, okay. I've learned to describe the situations that are in front of me completely. And I think that's the key to AI. And we come back to the prompting, which is the better you are at describing what you can do, which means the more broad you are in your education, the more broad you are in your reading, the more broad you are in your inputs, the more you seek that knowledge and stuff, you'll be able to express that more to the computer you're talking to, and it will give you the results that you want. So I think it's vital that the people from underneath get trained up underneath. But AI, if you've got it on your CV, you're ahead of the game.
Mary, you wanted to add to that, did you?
No, I was just going to say the same kind of thing and go on. I was going to say people aren't going to replace AI. People using AI will. So it's a soft skill, and it's what's I think is going to happen is that it's more human. So we've got to get our soft skills, our communication, our teamwork, all of that kind of thing is going to come to the fore. We're not going to be hiding behind our screens anymore.
We've got one more question. Gracie's pointing at me fervently, saying,
Hi, I'm Pepi from thepepi.com. And I want to say something about the good AI for good, because I think we have a problem in AI in hiring. Many companies are using ATS, as you all know, and there is a disbalance, knowledge of people, how to create their CVs in a correct way, and also how people are hiring. If you have big companies reducing the HR departments at the same time, you can see the problem, how it's going to develop in the few years. So you have not only new people, you have people from all backgrounds that might not be aware that they cannot use the same way of sending their CVs and cover letters when searching for a job. And you have very good, highly skilled people that might just need a little bit of training when they land to a new company. And companies are missing out very good trained people from different ages and different backgrounds just because they are not perhaps looking at training people just from the moment of hiring. What do you think about this?
So we definitely see that, and that's one of the things that we're working with the council on, because there'll be people in the refugee program that have applied for 50 jobs on Indeed, and actually they haven't, because their CV wasn't formatted properly and it hasn't made it through the filter. So absolutely, it's on both sides. It's on the training side, the soft skill of being able to engage with the tool and use it so it gives the output that you need reliably. But it's also the sensitivity of the companies themselves. I mean, we've seen that with Amazon spitting out. They deferred it all to AI, didn't they? And then they had that massive problem with it, not accepting people through, and huge issues. So I think what we're doing is, and the pendulum will swing. So a large organization is going to full AI and realizing where the edges are, and actually, you know, we still need the human in there. We need to be able to reliably replicate the human as well, because AI can't do empathy. It's not conscious. So I think we're going to see that swing back as well, with that level of awareness that needs to happen. And that will only be driven by what you were talking about, which is by the problems. When it becomes a problem, we adjust. So that's what we'll start to see coming through, I think.
Big topic. We're probably right on the bump stops of our time limit, actually.
I just think it's an important point is that AI opens up opportunities. Sorry, mate. 1 second. Sorry. I just with CV, what we talk about CV automation, that's a human-driven constraint where make it simpler, put it onto 2 pages. AI opens up the opportunity So that is a bad example of where AI is being misused, because actually it can process far more information, and we've got to be creative with the way we apply it, not try and fix old problems.
I think Kat's point is a good one, is that we can't see 3 years ahead. And I think in that 3 to 5 year, certainly 10-year window, many things will be different, won't they? We have bumped up against our time limit. I want to give Matt a couple of minutes just to talk to this last slide, because it's something, of course you can read that. This is your fault. I even made that bigger. So you're going to have to.
Okay.
2 minutes.
So I just want to take this opportunity, first of all, to introduce my guardian angel. This is Bissy. She's the co-lead on one of the 3 work streams in Brighton AI. So Bissy and I, between us, we run the Ethics and Governance Action Group. And our Q1 task was to create Brighton's first ethical implementation framework for AI. And that's what we've done. And this is it here. I don't expect you to be able to read this, by the way. So this is on our website now. And basically what it is, think of it as a checklist of all the things that you need to think about when you're going to implement an AI-based project. Yeah. Now, not all of it will be relevant. Some of it will, some of it won't. But it's not about how you run a project. It's about what is the purpose of the AI that you're going to deliver. Can it cause harm to a vulnerable group? Is it inclusive? Does it create equality? But also things like energy consumption, because obviously some of these large language models use colossal amount of energy for training. So you have to think about that. So it's a checklist of all the things you should think about as a project team before you press the button on your AI lifecycle. Yeah. And we created this thing. It's going to be on the website. And basically you've got on the left there, the principle that we're looking at, supporting tenants. What does it actually mean in plain English? And then the most important bit, what do you actually need to do? So, for example, when you're looking at something like, is it going to cause harm? The action you need to take is do a risk assessment and look at all the potential risks to vulnerable communities, et cetera, et cetera. That may not make sense until you start thinking about what data are you capturing on who? And do you need that data? You really need the people's telephone number to deliver your project. Well, if you don't have it as part of your data model. Yeah, so it makes you think about all the different aspects involved in an AI project. It's draft. This has done an amazing job of distilling, crikey, I don't know, 15 different frameworks down to one. She didn't. She did it all by hand. All by hand. And the idea of it is that we've taken like UNESCO and the European regulations. Yeah, and the OECD. Yeah, and so a whole bunch of different frameworks, distill them down to this draft, and we'd like Brighton AI members to look at it and rip it to bits, to add bits, to comment, to change it. And what you can do with the one on the website is you can download it and you can adopt it for your own purposes and start using it, okay? So this is not something cast in stone. This is the clay for you to model for your own purposes. It's a start point on a journey that you're going to go on with Brighton AI, all right? So Bissy and I built it. We're very proud of it. We missed the deadline by 1 day. So what? Who cares? We delivered it on our Q1. That's what we said we would do. High five, Bissy.
Well done. Yeah. Round of applause. Well done, both of you. This is such an important foundation of AI. It's come up in many conversations. It's such a complex one, and to distill all of that knowledge down into a framework that we can start to use and adapt is hugely valuable. www.brightonai.org, brightonai.org. It's up now. We'll be using it for more and more content as we go forward. Notion, an idea. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's take this offline.
Yeah. The good news is we can continue this conversation over the road at the Oculist. Grace has checked it out, so it's highly recommended. So I'll be heading over there shortly with hopefully others to continue this conversation. Thank you, fellow panelists, for your time, expertise, sharing your knowledge wisely. Thank you for everybody coming along. Thank you, Grace, Silicon Brighton. Thank you for our host and the wonderful venue. And thank you all for coming. And we'll see you again soon, probably over at the Oculist. Thank you very much.